Okay.
Strap in, people.
Huh?
Strap in, people.
Strap in, people. Let's go. Welcome to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. This is a conversation with love. I couldn't think of anything better to talk about today than love in the form of death and death doula.
All right.
Bum, bum, bum. This is my pal, Liza. Liza is what's known as a death doula. She's also a funeral director. So we're going to get into the world of what death doula is, helping people with the transition from the physical world into the next stage of their life. And that's going to be supported by the likes of Lisa and death doulas. So Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Really excited. This is going to be wild.
So like even you saying this would be very counterintuitive to the Irish, most of the Irish people, because Irish people and death, there's a bit of a difficulty there, would you say?
There is. I mean, we think we're really good at death. But the reality is we're really good at wakes. We all know we like to have a little party and we like to celebrate somebody. But when it comes to the actual death piece, we're shocking bad at it.
What do you mean by that? Open that up for me. So this podcast, I hope, will be of service for people that may be going through grief, or maybe their loved one or someone they know is getting ready for that stage. And we hope that the stuff that you and I share will be of service to that. So when you say they're not good at the death piece, what's that mean?
Part of it, I think, is we struggle with accepting that we're all going to die someday. That's the biggest thing. That's a very human nature thing, because death is the greatest mystery. And it is the one thing that is out of our control. As humans, we like to think we have control over what goes on in our life. But the reality is that dying is out of our hands, unless we choose to take our own life, of course. Mm-hmm. And then I think a part of it is that we struggle to separate death as something that happens versus dying. So people, when they think about death, think about suffering, think about pain, think about loved ones left behind. Like, I've never had a fear of death. I've always accepted that someday I'm going to die, which means that while I'm not doing that, I might as well be living. That's the trick. That's the magic.
Right.
Having said that, there are many ways that I don't want to die. Accepting that I've no control over that, but I have a terrible fear of water. So the idea of drowning terrifies me. But that's separate. Death and dying are kind of two different things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. I totally understand that. So you're okay with, if there was such a thing as the end, okay, I'll be okay with the end. But the ending...
Exactly, yeah.
The ending, like, where I would have a great difficulty with getting sick, losing me independence, losing my mobility, losing, your
mind,
bodily functions, losing the mind. You have to have it first. Maybe I've lost that a while ago. So that part, it's the ending rather than the end, because we don't know if there's an end. And you and I have had experience with stuff after people have passed over.
Yeah.
So yeah, Irish people, and people in general, sometimes we think it's us Irish, but I've been around the world studying in different places, and I'll hear similar conversations that I hear in Ireland, the not good enoughness, the I'm not worthy. When I was in Germany, people talk about that, and I was like, wow, I just thought that was me, and I thought it was Ireland, but it's kind of universal. So give us a little synopsis what you think doula is, death doula. How would you explain the role or what you do as a death doula? What does that mean for people?
Someone described it really well recently. Is most people know about birth doulas. So they're the non-medical people that help life come into the world if you don't want to give birth in a hospital or in an extremely medical setting. So the death doula is the same, but for the end. And somebody called it a soul midwife recently. And I really loved that.
Yeah.
So the thing about being a death doula is that you can be anything. It depends on what your person or your family want. Usually somebody is on the way out and they want to get ready. Now, whether that is getting their heads around a diagnosis, whether that is preparing their family, whether that's having conversations with you because their family won't talk about it, making wills, making funeral plans, cleaning house, the Swedish art of death cleaning, or just taking on projects, even like legacy projects, where there's stuff that they want to leave after they're gone. They want to write letters, they want to gather up possessions, they want to have those. So a lot of the work happens even after someone's passed away.
Right.
Where I would go to a family 3 months, 6 months later and go, listen, this was prepared for you. And when I knew the time was right, I was asked to come and share it with you now.
Okay, cool. Wow. What a big role. There's a lot in it, isn't there?
There is a lot in it. And people have this idea that, your job is to be there with the person when they pass.
Yeah.
And usually that's not true.
Okay.
Because A, it's a very hard thing. Time, obviously. And secondly, a lot of the time people have families and they want to be in that role. They want to be in the hospital. They want to be at home. They want to be with the person, but they're still not ready to accept that that's going to happen. So they don't want to start the conversations early. The first person I ever worked with, he just wanted to wrap his head around what was going to happen.
Right.
We talked about his fears about dying. We talked about, how he wanted to be remembered in the world. We talked about his funeral, and all the while his children were in the background. But they just couldn't have that conversation.
Okay.
They weren't ready to accept that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And he desperately just wanted someone to word vomit at, for want of a better word. He wanted someone to talk to about how he was feeling and what he was going through. And even just for someone to go, yeah, that's all right, that's fine, that's normal.
Sure.
That's because whatever your reality is when you're going through that, that's your normal. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It is what it is.
In the same way as afterwards, when people go, I'm 6 months in and I still feel this, or still can't get out of bed and I still can't believe, that's normal. Whatever it is that you were feeling in that moment is normal. And the problem is that we've all these well-meaning books and well-meaning literature and well-meaning things that come out after a person dies. And whilst it's great to give people some semblance of timeline, optimism, 7 stages of grief, whatever it is.
The Kubler-Ross model.
Yeah. The harsh reality is that you read those books or you look at those leaflets, and if you're not careful, you feel like you're doing grief wrong.
I understand. I think a good piece what you spoke into there is the difficulties of families not being able to have the conversation. And I would have experienced that with my dad's passing over. So my mum and dad live in a bungalow. My mum be in the sitting room, my dad be in his bedroom. It was their old bedroom. My dad used to go in there because he watched his telly and he's listened to his music, and my mum could do hers. But they never spoke. My dad had cancer for 13 years, and the last year of his life we had him at home for palliative care. But they never actually talked about the end. They never talked about him dying. There was always this air of, we'll do this and we'll do that and that will be grand. It'll all be okay. But he never actually spoke. And I used to come in and I'd have them conversations with me dad. I'd ask him about certain things if he wanted to talk, and then I'd go back out and my mum would be like, did he say anything? Was he talking about? And I said, yeah, well, we were talking about death and dying, and oh Jesus, how is he in there now? Like, and they would tell you that they used to communicate, they knew what each others were thinking. They just didn't talk about certain things. They talk about other stuff, but just not death and dying, right up to his passing. And I think it's really important to help people with that process.
Yeah.
And I think the doula work can do that. They can bridge that gap to meet family members where they're at, and meet the person that's doing the dying process, going through that, to meet them where they're at and try to help bridge that gap.
Yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this in a way.
Brilliant show.
But it's all about meeting that person where they're at, and then meeting their family where they're at. And as you say, trying to bridge the difference, but not trying to force people to come together in the middle and understand it. One of the things that seems to be kind of very Irish, for want of a better word, and I haven't found it anywhere else, is this idea that if you talk about death, you're inviting it to your doorstep. Like it's contagious. You catch death like the flu. So we can talk about it. We can normalise it. We should, because it's happening every day of the week to somebody. And everyone's experience, of course, is different. And you don't always have the answers. Like somebody will go, what's it like to die? I can't answer that question for them because everyone's death is different. Some people literally go to sleep. That's it. And wake up dead, as we call it. Some other people struggle all the way to the end. And a lot of that depends on what you believe happens next. It depends on your resistance to going. It depends on what you think is left to be said or done. We see it all the time, people hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. And I'm kind of, what's unfinished? What's left? What have you got to say? Who are you waiting for? What is it? Because there's something that's keeping that soul here.
Right,
And they won't just...
The unfinished business.
Let go, exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things that you can do when someone is dying is to tell them that it's all right to go.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest thing to do when it's somebody that you love.
And I had those conversations with me dad, because I used to put my hand on his chest every day. I'd say, you're my hero, you're my right king. Keep the faith, I love you. And he said to me, how do I prepare to die? And I was like, Dad, I don't remember. I says, but what I do know is that we get to choose love over fear every day. Love me ma, love the grandkids as best you can. I says, what are you afraid of? And his was dying on my own. He says, I don't want to die on my own. I don't want to die in a hospital. He says, I want to be here. And I says, Dad, I won't let that happen. I'll keep you here. I says, but if you go into cardiac arrest, do I let you go or do I keep you? And he goes, let me go, Matzer. And I says, right. I got the call at 444 on the 1st of the 11th of the 1st, 111. Angel numbers, right?
That's a special, on the 11th of January.
Yeah.
That's my wedding anniversary.
Wow. The 444, my ma rang me, because I said, my ma ring me before the ambulance.
Yeah.
So he says, what do you want me to do? He goes, Matzer, let me go. I'm done. And I said, okay. So my ma's going bananas. So I close my mouth, breathe through the nose, regulate the nervous system, go in. He's on the floor. I says, Ma, he said to me not to resuscitate him. I'm not going to resuscitate him. She goes, you have to.
And that's hard.
I says, Ma, ring the ambulance, do what you got to do. So I have them on the phone. And your man's telling me what to do the chest press. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I'm just rocking me dad. He was like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, he was like a chicken.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to break his chest bone.
Yeah,
And I just rocked him. And your man was counting the numbers. Is he doing that? And I says, nah, he's not doing fucking nothing. No. I'm not doing that neither. But
no, but we're all pretending.
Yeah.
You're going through the motions.
But that was born out of the conversation that I had with him.
And if you hadn't been brave enough to have the conversation with him, or just real enough with him to have, and he hadn't been real enough to be able to tell you what he wanted.
Yeah.
Well, then he could be still.
And people hear that story and they go, fuck, Jesus Christ. And I'm saying, yeah, it sounds difficult. Okay, I get it. I've been training at this for a while, managing my nervous system. But what it helped me do was, that was a beautiful process for me to go through with me dad, with the grieving process. I done exactly what I was asked. And the same with doing his eulogy. It was a privilege. I was able to help my dad leave his physical body. So that was really me now saying, right, you're dedicated to love. So then I'll dedicate my love to me ma. I'll do the funeral stuff. It doesn't make it go away. It doesn't make the pain go away.
No.
But it makes it easier to be with.
Yep. And it makes it easier afterwards. One of the biggest problems with grief is that guilt comes very closely behind grief. And guilt and grief have no business together. Guilt has no business anywhere, as we know.
Brilliant, great show.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't come. And if you've done everything, if you've had the privilege of holding somebody's hand while they crossed over, and you've done all the things that you could do, it helps you with your grief, I think. In that otherwise it's just, I should have rang him, I should have done this, maybe I should have called the ambulance quicker, maybe I should have noticed that he was losing weight, maybe shoulda, woulda, coulda.
My auntie, yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda is pointless. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring them back, and it doesn't help your grief move through you.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating you're saying it, because my ma said some stuff like after the funeral and days gone after and months, and I'm like, ma, you gotta listen to yourself. She was the best. Now I mean, if you could give an awards for best wife, best carer, best fucking God to this man, she done incredibly, but she tried to find stuff that she could have done better. She bathed his feet, she washed him, she looked after him, she was methodical with all the records and meds and appointments. But yeah, she was like, he suffered. His body may have, I says, but he was loved beyond belief.
And there was no control over his suffering. That was his path to the end.
Yeah.
And people find it hard that they couldn't have done something more.
Yeah, because she was like, he's so nice, he's such a good man, he had to suffer. I said he passed over with love. He came in with love and he left. He got everything that he was. But the suffering and the grief, it was blinding her to be able to see how good of a wife she was and the love that she afforded him. It's incredible, isn't it? The guilt and the shame and as you said, they don't go together. They've no place.
Yeah. I was lucky just before. Well, I was with Kevin when he died, obviously, but before he kind of went into the unconscious part that comes before death, we had a whole conversation about life and regrets.
So Kevin, for myself and
Kevin,
Liza,
for
are
the
friends.
uninitiated, is my husband.
This is where your death doula training started off.
Yeah. It started with Kevin. On Thursday, it'll be 6 years.
This Thursday?
This Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll be 6 years since he left this earth and went off to stardust and rainbows. And I remember the last conversation I had with him, which was in the hospital, and it was not long after the doctor had come in. And he is a perfect example of what I consider a good death. Not necessarily without suffering or anything, but just someone who just decided that they were done. Doctor came in, went, this plan hasn't gone to plan, we need a new plan. He went, sure. Because we were 5 weeks into a diagnosis that was supposed to be 3 years of a timeline.
What was the diagnosis?
Bowel cancer.
Okay.
So when he was diagnosed, we were told about 3 years. And I remember at the time going, it's not going to be that long. Didn't think it was going to be 5 weeks, but didn't think it was going to be 3 years.
What was that impetus in you that led you to think that? What?
It was just a feeling. Literally, the doctor said it and I went, nah.
Okay. And you would have been, and I know from our conversations, the conversation we spoke for hours one day, you would have had some skills inside of yourself to be connected to other realms, let's say.
Yeah.
You notice and see and sense and feel certain stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a random thought.
No.
Okay.
I just remember going, it's not going to be 3 years. Thought it might have been a year and a half, something like that. But I just knew it wasn't going to be that long. I knew him and I knew he was going to have other ideas. And once he knew, and that was the thing, the doctor came in about 1 o'clock in the afternoon and went, because he'd been rushed back in, this hasn't gone to plan at all. We need a new plan. They had called what did they call them? The multidisciplinary teams. They called one of them for the next day. And I was kind of going, all right. And the doctor left the room and Kevin's sister went with him because she was meticulous with all the note taking. She's a retired nurse. So she had all the notebooks, everything was being recorded. It was amazing. So it was just me and him. And he was like, well, that's that then. And I went, okay. And he went, sure, I've no regrets anyway. And literally, we had a whole conversation. And he had always lived his life for himself. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No. He'd done his own
He was
thing.
selfish in the purest definition of the word selfish,
Yeah,
that he took care of himself before he took care of other people. Like the old oxygen mask analogy. So...
Good man, Kevin.
He was ready. And that was it. And within about 2-3 hours, that was kind of, like he was gone within 10 hours of that doctor saying, we'll call a multidisciplinary team meeting for tomorrow. He was he was gone. Wow. Yeah.
So
Doctor was in
quick.
at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Kevin died at 12:21. Which I found beautiful, because he loved the old palindromes.
The what?
The old, the things that are the same forward and backwards.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Navan. So 12:21. That was
Wow.
it.
In the afternoon?
No, in the middle of the night.
Okay, so we're moving into the Amric Vale territory.
Most people, the vast majority of people, die between midnight and 3 a.m.
Yeah, my dad went just after 4:44, let's say.
And a lot of people think that it's because, even though people say they don't want to die alone, I mean, everybody dies alone, even if someone's holding your hand. It's sprint to the finish that only you can do. And a lot of times they feel like people slip away in the middle of the night, because it is the time of the night where it's most likely that everyone else will be asleep.
Right.
Because if you really thought about it, people don't want to die alone, but also you don't want your loved ones to have to see you do that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people kind of slip away in that little time in the middle of the night, when it's most likely that everyone's going to be asleep. And then people feel guilty that they missed it.
Right.
And this is where the guilt starts to kick in.
Yeah, and the
That's
woulda, shoulda, coulda, I could have done more, I could have. And even as when I reflect back on our process with me dad, me ma, amazing, me little brother, his wife, my daughter, like everybody done their best. They were really good, and it's really important to acknowledge that, and then also for people, if they do have somebody dying or going through that, to try do your best.
And that's all you can do.
And I remember ringing my little brother and all that, because he found it difficult with me dad being sick, because he, like a lot of Irish men, he wasn't trained the way I've been trained. He found the emotions difficult, and I used to say to him, just show up, because afterwards you'll have times where you'll think I didn't do enough and da-da-da. I said, I'm not giving out you, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm looking out for you. So when you go through this process, that you look back and go, do you know what, I done my best.
Yeah.
And which he did. He fucking done his best. He was brilliant to the funeral. And I think that's important for people.
Yeah. You have to, you do what you can, you do what you're able to do. But then you have to be comfortable with that afterwards. You have to kind of go, I did what I could with what I was equipped to do. So it has to be okay. I can't feel bad about it.
So the death and being okay with death for you, that started long before all of this, didn't it? As childhood, is it okay to talk of that?
Yeah, it is. It is. I was that weird child. Again, it's an Irish thing. Well, maybe it's a country thing. I don't know. You can tell me if you had to do this when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But you'd be trotted out to every goddamn wake that went on in the community, and there'd be some person in a coffin, and you'd be like, now go over there and pay your respects and say goodbye and do your stuff. So I grew up surrounded by Irish wakes, because we lived in the middle of nowhere. So that was kind of pretty normal to me. But then you'd be dragged to the funeral as well. And I just remember being multiple times at funerals going, why is everybody so sad? Sure, George is just standing over there.
Wow.
So I could see George.
Like, what would you actually see?
A physical representation of them at a particular point in time. But whatever, sometimes they were younger, sometimes they weren't. They were always just, they looked like themselves. And they looked as solid as they could do. Wow. Like, who's in there if he's over there kind of job? Sometimes they didn't, like they looked younger or they looked different, but always to the point where I knew who they were.
Great, yeah.
So it could have been somebody that I might not have known for a very long time. So I'd sort of say maybe pre their illness or something like that. So I always found it staggering that all these people were bawling their eyes out and doing whatever when George was standing over there.
That's incredible.
This did not go down well at home, however.
Like when you presented this idea, what was that
When
like?
I made the mistake of saying that out loud to somebody, that just didn't go well. But I am a child of a very Catholic upbringing. So that kind of stuff is just too weird.
You were going, they're locking you up.
Yeah, basically. So over time, I just kind of learned to, unfortunately, lock it away. And then it kind of went away.
Did it?
It did, yeah.
So your ability to see and sense beings.
Because I grew up being told that that was wrong and weird, and I was imagining things and all of those things that you tell kids when you're trying to get them to stop doing what comes naturally to them that you don't understand.
So could we sum it up by saying fear? So people instill fear in you.
Yeah.
You're doing something wrong. That's weird. Don't do that. What
Don't
will
say
people
that.
think? What will people say? And all of a sudden you turn off that sense inside you to the next realm, to the 5th and 6th and 7th dimension.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And it takes a long time then to get it to come back. You've got to clean all of that fear and shame and all of that other stuff.
Unpack.
Yeah.
So you come in knowing, like we do, we come in here with all the answers, you know, the universe to experience itself in your body and my body. And then the people that we spend some time with, they pour their unconscious into us, and we get programmed to think that seeing spirit, because we don't see a lot of what's actually going on in life. We see a very small percentage, and we're already aware of everything's going on. Then they tell us, don't do this, don't do that, and they pour their unconscious into us.
Yeah.
And then we were led to believe that death is a bad thing. It's, you know, leaving your physical body is a bad thing. Because I remember going into the funeral home and they seen me that. And it was the first time. I know I had said before, we're not our body. But this is the first time I actually, that's not my dad.
Yeah.
That's his body. He's not there.
And did it look like him? Physically, did it look like him?
No.
Sometimes that can make a huge difference.
No, I was like, that's not him. I remember walking in and it was this most surrealist thing ever. I went, that's not him. And I said to me, man, that's not him.
That's like a funeral director's worst nightmare to hear that in the background, because then we think we've brought out the wrong person.
No, I was like, he's gone. And I even remember doing his eulogy, saying, this is a eulogy for a superhero. That's not me dad. That's just his body.
Yeah.
Me dad's gone. He's like, phew.
I had that moment when Kevin was dying, that about 11:45, 10 to 12, we had made a promise to Kevin. I'd made a promise to Kevin that he was never going to be left on his own. I knew he wasn't going to get out of that hospital. Right. I just knew it. So that was fine. Down in Cork, in the Bonds Court in Cork. And I was there and his sister was there and his brother was there. And we were kind of taking shifts. Yeah. So we wouldn't be on his own, having the chats with him, well, talking to him, playing music, all that kind of stuff. At about 11:45, 12:45 to midnight, I just looked at him and I went, he's gone. He was still breathing. But in my mind, he was gone.
Leave him.
And that's why I went out and I woke up his sister and his brother, and I was like, in you come, because something's changed. And I kind of firmly believe that at that point his soul had crossed over to where it needed to go, and then the mechanics of the body were just slowly winding
the lights were
down.
going out.
Exactly.
But
that bit takes time.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me afterwards how I knew, and I don't know. I said, maybe it's many years of being an animal rescue volunteer where you can see when an animal is dying, but you know they're done. We're just waiting for the heart to get the memo that we're done, because it's amazing how slowly someone can breathe when they're about to die.
Can go on for fucking hours.
I remember he had a watch on him and I had a second hand, and I used to just sit there staring at it and watching it go round and round, and then go, this must be the last one. And then it'd go round a couple of times, and then there'd be one more. I'd be like, and it's amazing how it's possible to simultaneously wish that someone's last breath is their last breath and not. Because in that moment,
it's a dichotomy.
Still want to keep them.
It's a dichotomy, isn't it?
But you gotta know you have to let them go.
Yeah.
And that's it. And all we could do was tell him that everything was done, and that it was all right for him to jog on whenever he felt like
jog
it.
on. I think that's a really important piece that you said there, and I don't know how many people I've spoke to about this, that when they've had people that are going through the death process, that they're like, I want them to go now, but then they feel terrible about that.
No.
And what I done in the few days, because I knew I was having conversations with the palliative care team, because I was like, this ain't going too much far. They were talking about all these other projects, and I'm like, this ain't going too far. And the conversation I was having with the people upstairs in the other realms of the world, I was like, if he's ready to go, take him now. Like, it's time to go. And I would say that to people, that it's okay that if you're having those experiences, because your human body is really suffering and you want the pain to stop. And you also want their pain to stop as well. So it's not just about your selfish needs. If you feel selfish, you do want your loved one to not suffer.
Yeah. And it's one of the worst things you can say to somebody who's dying is just hold on, don't leave me. And we have to break that. We have to kind of untangle ourselves from our love for that person and make that love just pure. And when love is really, really pure, all you want is the best for that person. And if the best is that they go, well, that's all you can want for them.
Sure.
Because it's not really about you anymore.
It's a great way for you to practice being selfless.
Yeah.
Can you make it about them? And I've worked in the hospital sector for a long time, and I've been with families, that have gone through stuff with their partners or their family having a brain injury, and they can make it about themselves. I want this and I want that. And this thing with my dad, we made about me dad.
Yeah.
My mom made it about me dad. She led the ship and all that. Like, this is about him. And that's really, really important to remember in all of this. But it's okay if you do feel all those things and you notice, and then just change and see, can you make it about them? It's really important. Yeah. So what kind of information, what process would you think would be important for people to know to help them through this process before dying and then after? What's the thing that the common things that people need to know that will prepare them, help them? We've talked about some things in our conversation, like the pins of phones, the bills, the stuff that you've gone through.
Planning is the biggest thing. I mean, if you know what you want for your own funeral, write it down. Go into a funeral director, make a plan. Don't write it down on a piece of paper, put it in a voice, do something. And if your family are not able to have that conversation with you, at least have that conversation with somebody, put it all down and go, listen, if something happens, go to that drawer over there, you'll find all you need.
Like the pin off your phone, the account number, your bank number, your bank
secret
detail.
account in the Cayman Islands, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know, and like we all have passwords, and that's great. But actually, the pin to your phone is the most important piece of information you can share with somebody. Because you can't even get into your online banking on your laptop without doing something on your phone. Right. And in order to do that, swipe to approve logging in over there. You need a pin to get into it in the first place.
Right, pins of phones.
Pins of phones, passwords, everything, insurance policies, accounts that people don't know about. But then also, here's how I want to celebrate my life when I'm gone. Do I want biggest things? Do I want to be buried or do I want to be cremated? If you want to be cremated, you either need a next of kin, a legal next of kin. If you don't have a legal next of kin, you need a will. People really don't realise how complicated it is to get cremated. Now, if you get cremated and you're married, grand. If you get cremated and you have a legal next of kin, a parent, a sibling, a somebody, fine. They sign the paperwork that allows you to be cremated. That's great. If you don't have a legal next of kin, you can't be cremated unless you have a will that has an executor and they know your decisions.
Why is that?
It's because cremation is such a final process. So, for example, I did a funeral recently for someone who we didn't know if they had a legal next of kin or not. They had grown up
so
in
illegal next of kin, is this someone you assign as your next of kin legally?
If you have a will, you can assign an executor and they can be assigned to everything. But legally, it's like if you have a parent, a partner, a sibling, a child, legally they're your next of kin.
Oh, so they can make that decision.
So your mother at the moment is your legal next of kin, or else your daughter.
Okay, cool.
If you got married, it would become your wife. But you might not have one. You could have grown up in a mother and baby home. You could have grown up in a foster system.
Sure.
You could have been adopted, and you could have next of kin out there, but you don't know that.
Okay.
And if that's the case, you have to be buried. And the reason behind that is that if at some point in the future someone came forward and went, I've just found out that you did the funeral for my long lost brother 10 years ago, and now we want to take him and put him in the family grave.
It's going to be a little bit awkward.
Or we want to claim him. It's going to be a little bit awkward if you've been cremated and scattered to the four ends of the earth. So because it's such a final process to cremate somebody, there's an awful lot more red tape involved.
Wow, I never knew this.
So if you don't have an next kin that you know of, or for example, if you're estranged from your family and you don't think they would carry out your wishes and you want to be cremated, get a will. Because a will is not just about assets. People make that mistake. They think that a will is because they've got a gaff and an insurance policy and a bank account with some money in it and I want to leave it to people. A will is about your wishes. It's about your legacy, but that's all of your wishes.
Okay, wow.
So even if you've nothing financially or asset-wise to leave, if you have a will, you nominate someone to carry out your wishes after your death. And
Wow.
that's your executor.
I never knew, and I have been asked to be an executor on a friend's on a will.
Yeah.
Wow, we'll have to have that conversation.
So, for example, I know I'm a bit like your dad. If something takes me, let it take me. I don't need the ambulances and the defibrillators and the bringing me back 14 times, right? If I'm going, I'm going. And my mother is exactly the same. My mother, slightly different angle. If God calls me, he may take me, and there's no interfering with that part. I'm like,
Good.
grand. But I've had the conversation, and I don't think if it happens to me and she was in charge, that she would be able to do the same for me. Because doing it for your child is very, very different. Like if your daughter said to you, if my heart stops, don't try and bring it back. It's a very hard thing as a parent to respect that wish. Because you'd see it as a parent and you don't see them as an autonomous being, no matter how old they are.
Yeah, I would have to respect that. As
You would have to.
Because it's the
not
most
everyone-
selfless thing I could do.
Exactly. And not everyone can do that. And not everyone...
And no judgment.
No.
No, but I would do it.
Yeah, but I don't think my mother would.
Okay.
No
Yeah, I
disrespect
get
to
it.
her.
But sure, human beings are the worst predictors of outcome. Oh yeah, I do that till shit hits the fan. It's all great having a plan till someone punches you in the face, as a boxer once
Yes,
says.
and then the time comes and you're like, no, I can't do that. Can't bring myself.
Yeah.
So I have a plan in place that I know that there are people who will carry out the wishes that I want. And the way to do that is to make a will.
Okay.
I think planning is the best thing you can do. And that's planning also, what you want your funeral to look like. Because we don't do these things because we think we have time. And we all think we're going to live until we're 104 or whatever. I talked to somebody about that recently and they were like, would you like to live to 100? I'm like, no. Oh, what would I be doing? And they were like, but if you were in possession of all your faculties, I'm like, still no. Who'd be left? Like who's going to be around to have the chats with and do it? All the people in my world would probably be long gone by then, unless I could live to 100 and Mona and you and everybody else can live to 100.
The light being group.
Exactly. All the light beings can live until 100. That's different, but it's highly unlikely. So plan. Because literally, I could walk out that door and get hit by a bus. Now, I don't think about that. But it's important to realise that we don't have all this time we think we do. And I see it all the time in my work as a funeral director, kids' funerals, babies, young people, accidents, unexpected deaths of all ages. It just proves to me every day that tomorrow is not guaranteed. But people think that by sitting down and thinking about it and coming up with a plan, that's terrible morbid. Terrible morbid. And we go back to that fear of talking about it
The
and
shame
preparing
and the
for
guilt
it.
and
Yeah, because basically it's like I'm asking to be run over by the 26 bus outside.
as you said earlier, people believe that it's infectious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not so much.
And that happens to people when somebody dies as well. You know, at the beginning, everyone comes around. Like the funeral, the wake, all those few days, first few days. I'm sure you remember with your dad. It's a blur of people and sandwiches. And you don't have to cook because people are constantly, and it's beautiful. The community comes together. And then the funeral happens and that's fine. And then over time, all these people just vanish off into the ether. And that's where you find who your real people are. Because they're the people who keep coming back. And people surprise you. What surprised me a lot was the people who kept showing up that I didn't expect would keep showing up. And the people that I expected would show up who vanished. Because again, like, she contagious now. So
People crossing over the other side of the road and all when they see it.
Because people also don't know what to say.
Don't know what to say.
And that's my next piece of advice. Stop trying to say stuff to make it better. There's nothing that makes it better. Like some of the things that were said to me, I'm sure you probably have a few, around the time of Kevin's funeral were so bad they were funny. You know, there's the usual stuff of, oh God, wasn't he very young? Or conversely, sure, didn't he have a great innings? I mean, like, what is that?
It's just tokenistic bullshit.
Like, basically. And it's because we can't be comfortable because somebody else is uncomfortable. And all you really need to do is go, I'm really sorry. I don't know what to say. It's perfect. That's cool. Or, well, this is shite. Sorry. You're going through this.
Yes.
And then just sit with them. They don't need fixing.
Like,
They don't need... People grieving don't need anything unless they tell you what it is they need. But mostly they don't need platitudes.
Platitudes,
So this of, you know, well, you're still young, you know.
That was said to you, right?
The worst thing, Matt, that was said to me was actually on the day of the funeral itself. And it was by somebody I didn't know. They had come to pay their respects to one of Kevin's family. And I didn't know them from Adam. Not that it mattered. And they turned around to me and they said, well, at least the house will be paid for.
Jesus Christ.
And I went, excuse me? And they made the mistake of repeating themselves. And I had to walk away before I lost it. But also because I found it so funny at the same time that that's the best that they could come up with in that situation.
And people are going to say and speak through the eyes of what they believe, you know?
Yeah.
Like someone said to me, oh, this is the worst thing that was ever going to happen to you. He said to me, it's the worst thing ever. And I went, I don't see it that way.
No.
I don't see it that way. I says, because it now allows me to dedicate my life to loving me dad, but now I also have to love me ma.
Yeah.
And from that passing over of me dad, we have the most incredible relationship and love within me, me ma, me daughter, my brother. There's a lot of love in our family. We're going on holidays together and it's different.
Yeah. Somebody once, and I don't know who said this, I must look it up. Somebody said that grief is love with nowhere to go. And while that's a lovely sentiment, I don't think it's true. Because just because someone's gone doesn't mean you can't love them.
So this is my problem, what I was trying to say to people. He's not gone.
Yeah.
Love doesn't die. As I banged on the altar and I said, love is everything, it's everyone, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
My dad was love. He's left his physical body, so he's not gone. We'll use like a concession to language. There's a death, but there isn't really a death.
Yeah.
He leaves his physical body. He's not gone. When you boil a kettle, the water doesn't die. It just transforms.
Yeah.
But I get the language, death and dying. We got to do that as humans. But see, also we have to be aware, as you seen as a child, Larry, when he popped out of his body, you're like, but there's Larry there, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, shut up, put that kid in the press.
And I always find that funny. I always thought it was funny because people were still, especially people with deeply religious beliefs, who believed in a magical person called God.
Jesus.
Yeah.
On the cross.
And
suffering.
also believed that if they did enough in this world, that then we would go to this magical place called heaven.
Yeah.
And yet we're terrified of dying. And I can't reconcile those two things in my head. How can you be afraid of death if you believe you're off to heaven? Surely you'd be like hurtling towards death, going, great, let's get this done. I'm off to the pearly gates. So it doesn't make sense to me that we're so afraid of death, given that if you believe that, if they're your set of beliefs, there's a reward at the end.
It's this belief that it's for people that it's over, that's it, it's gone, it's the nothingness. And then also, as you said earlier, people find the dying process difficult, the loss of independence, autonomy, bodily functions, the mind. I think people have a great difficulty with that.
And that's part of it. It's the death-dying divide that people can't go. Everyone wants what they call a good death, but I don't know what that is. Maybe that's that you just go to sleep and you don't wake up again. Yeah, and it's all very peaceful.
What would you describe a good death as? And that's a question they asked us. I've just nearly finished my death doula training. What is a good death? What's good dying?
To me, good dying is getting to the end. Good dying is good living, basically, is the answer. Good dying is getting to the end of your life and going, I fucking did it all. Did everything I wanted to do. I'm not sitting here with me bucket list that is a mile long going, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd been nicer to this person. I wish I'd told people that I loved them more. I wish I'd gone to Australia. Whatever it is. A good death is getting to the end and going, I rocked this world while I was here.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving some sort of a footprint on the world, whatever that is. To me, it's not about how you die, whether it's painful, whether it's peaceful, whether it's sudden, whether it's dragged out for years. A good death has an awful lot to do with a good life.
That's a great show. Do you know what I noticed? And I noticed when I done my death doula training. So when the person is coming to the final end, like my dad, and then he passed over, the whole process seems to get rushed along. And how can we help people with that end process? You know, we could have, like, it was nearly like it was out of our control. It was nearly like it was taken away from us. It was nearly like he was rushed off, and like we did have him for a few hours when he passed over. The guards were great because he died in the house. He fell out of bed, and so there could have been a crime scene, let's say, but the guards were great. He just got out of bed and he was going to tell me ma or something. But he was taken away, and then we didn't see him, and then he came back, and it was like, fuck. But when I learned about the doula training, that we can slow that process down, isn't that like?
I think the biggest thing is just when it happens, it's just breathe, just for a minute, just stop,
settle.
Yeah, because we don't have to get funeral planning right this second. I mean, the amount of phone calls that I get in the middle of the night that could have been, now I don't mind if someone needs to talk to me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You can talk to me in the middle of the night. But that could have been a 9 o'clock in the morning phone call but we're in a panic. I think a lot of that comes from the medical system.
Brilliant.
And
that's where I was
that
going
is,
with next.
there is a brilliant book. I can't remember his first name. His surname is McCarthy. He's a doctor. And he wrote an amazing book called The Way We Die Now.
The Way We Die Now.
And basically, the premise of that book is that we've ruined death by putting it all into hospitals.
It becomes medicalised.
Exactly.
It takes death doula and birth doula. It used to be a community process.
Yeah. And
done
everyone
by predominantly
gathered.
women.
Exactly. And then when someone had actually, I remember when Kevin died, we did nothing for a while.
When you say a while, what do you mean a while? Like hours?
Like at least 20 minutes, half an hour.
Oh, okay.
Before I even went to find a nurse.
Sure. Brilliant.
To tell them.
Let your
Because
nervous
we
system
knew
regulate.
that the minute we called the nurse, like it was all lovely. It was, lights were off, little lights on. It was dark. It was like a little nest. It was peaceful. I had Chopin playing in the background. That was his favourite stuff.
Who would you play in the background?
Chopin, the pianist, like all the nocturne stuff. Just really lovely.
Chopin, beautiful.
And the minute, we knew that the minute I opened that door, because it was, for the few hours up until that point, there'd been doctors in and out and in and out and in and out, of course, adding drugs, doing whatever, checking, doing. And then for some reason, well, the universe, For the last few hours, no one came into our room. Like, no one. He would have been well overdue a blood pressure checker or something. But it was like there was a little force field on the door that just went, they got this in there. You can just go to the next room.
Jog on.
Yeah, jog on. So when he died, we just stayed there. We did nothing. And eventually, Catherine went, you better go get a nurse. And I went, oh yeah, should probably go tell somebody. But there's no rush.
Love it.
Because I knew the minute we went in and we found a nurse, she was going to come in, lights were going to go on, doctors were going to start coming in, stuff was going to start escalating.
And you lose control and it just becomes bigger.
Yeah. Now, we were very lucky because that bit happened. I went out, I found Aisling, the nurse, because Kevin liked her. She was the pretty one. And became really important to me. There was 2 nurses on that night and he really didn't like one and he really liked the other one. So I had to find her and I went, Aisling, Kevin's gone. And the poor girl, she said to me, gone where? And I went, oh, no, he's died. And she just burst into tears. And then she tried to like get all professional again. And I was like, it's all right, come on. So we went in and then she had to find a doctor and then he came in. And then the night, my nurse manager lady came in and she was epic. And she's like a trailblazer in the medical system in my little eyes. Because she basically said, now she got in the measure of our twisted sense of humour. And she said, look, it's the middle of the night. If I move Kevin to the mortuary now, I have to do it. And I don't like doing it because it's creepy down there. So she said, so this is his room until the morning when the porters come in and then we'll move him down to the mortuary then.
Brilliant.
And that was a gift.
Brilliant.
So 2 of the nurses came in and they were like, we want to clean him up. And I said, well, we want to be there and help. And they went, okay, no problem. And that was amazing. Because we're normally, all of that stuff is taken away from it. It's like, get out and the people are busy sanitizing it all.
Sanitizing it, that has to be highlighted. This whole process can get sanitized to fuck.
Yeah.
And we don't want that because that's inhumane. It's we're taking the human experience away. It just becomes medical.
Yeah. So we
this process is not medical.
Yeah. Me and his sister and the 2 nurses cleaned him up, took all the machines off. They talked to him the whole time. Just going to remove this now, Kevin. Like he was still alive. It was beautiful. And no one should be denied that. People don't need to call a doctor immediately. But that comes down to the accepting of someone being dead. You know, if you're still railing against that and you have to call your ambulance or you have to do this or you have to ring or you have to press all the alarm buttons, that escalation's going to kick off real quick.
Yeah, I like what you said there about the acceptance part.
Yeah.
If you have done the work within inside yourself, that you're like, okay, dad, mom, sister, brother are coming to the end, and it can help you with that process. And then you can get into the bathing and the washing, which helps with the grief process.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the ancient way that we used to care for everyone.
Yeah.
That's what happened. The village came together, the women arrived, everyone got cleaned and put back into their bed.
We knew how to do it years ago, like you knew what to do when a spirit left its physical body, and then you got untrained.
We know what to do. Like if someone dies in Ireland in the middle of the night, and you know they're dead and you're not going to call the ambulance, the only thing you can do is call DDoC in the middle of the night to come out and pronounce that somebody's dead. But you can also wait until the morning and call their doctor and go, listen, can you come out and do the necessary?
Yeah.
We don't have to be straight on the phone. We don't have to be, I need to ring everybody and tell them.
Would you think that's a way of people not having to deal with the trauma of it? It feels like they're doing something and it helps them run away from what's going on.
100%.
So if I'm busy, I don't have to feel.
Yeah.
I'll ring the ambulance, I'll ring the doctor, and like they'll distract me innocently, unconsciously.
And then it's out of my hands.
Yeah, it's like, fuck.
I set a ball in motion and now the ball is moving and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
The medical system is amazing, but it doesn't help with that because it's all immediate and it's all, we got to go do this. You have to ring your funeral director now, and people here now and get on a phone at 3 o'clock in the morning and ring me. And I'm like, steady. There's nothing that needs to be done about sitting there and just taking a minute to breathe. Because once you start your ball in motion with funeral plans and all of those things. That's a process. And you go in and you sit down with a me or a somebody and you go, I want this and I want this and I want this and I want this. And then it's all organised. And then that's your next few days essentially mapped out for you. You got to meet a priest or a celebrant. You got to do this. You got to go here. You got to clean the house to get ready to bring somebody home. You have to make funeral soup and a million salad sandwiches. You got to do all of that stuff, and you're doing.
Doing. No feeling. Like, well, there's some in there, but predominantly most of doing, action.
So why are we in a hurry to like kickstart all of that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is driven also. And I had great conversations with Brona's ma. She's done a lot of palliative care and the dying process over years. She's been hospicing, and it's become so medicalised. You know, and it's taken out of people's hands, and they don't know what to do. They feel like they're doing something wrong. Well, I got to do this, and I got to do it quick, and I got to.
Or they're afraid. You know, it's like, oh, that body's going to start to break down if I don't get them out of here now, and then we won't be able to see them again, and then this and that and the other. Like, you got to remember, like, embalming only came to Ireland in the 1980s. Before that, we knew again how to keep people. Okay, we sped up funerals, and that is part of it as well. Everyone's in such a hurry. You die on a Monday, your funeral has to be Wednesday.
Yeah, where did that come in? Why did that, like, what was the hurry on that?
So the hurry on that was the lack of embalming. So before the 80s, when people died, there was nothing to preserve them. There was the old ways. It was mostly about odour control, for want of a better word. People were washed and they were dressed and they were put back in their beds, and they weren't even put into a coffin because you were waited at home. So you literally got put back into your bed. So you were washed and you were dressed, and then coffins were filled full of sage and lavender and all sorts of things, and that was really to disguise the smell of the body taking its natural course. It's why lilies are the funeral flower.
Yeah, you told me. I couldn't get me.
Smell so strong. They would mask the smell of everything.
Would they? Are they that strong?
Oh, they are. Yeah, if you ever get up, like if you get proper lilies and you get it up and close and like you can walk into a house, you can smell them from a mile away.
Okay.
So those kind of things, or in other culture, incense would be brought out, or something would be brought out, and that would, as well as being part of the honouring process, it would be part of the masking process, shall we say.
Right.
So then obviously, and then the community would go out, they would dig the grave, everything would be done, and that would be that. And then embalming came to Ireland, courtesy of an amazing funeral director from the west of Ireland who went to America to learn it. And then we got options because we didn't have to rush.
Right.
But it's so ingrained in our system for 20 generations that that's what happens, that people nearly need to feel like they have permission to like wait a few days.
Yeah.
And with the way the system is now, with the fact that it is so medicalised, things take longer. You know, there is a medical process to medically clear someone to be allowed for a funeral to take place, in order for simple things like a cause of death and death certificates to be produced. So that actually takes time. But we rail with that in our head because we're in the doing phase now. So if you pass away on a Saturday, chances are you're not going to be medically cleared until at least Monday. And we can't start booking churches and crematoria and graveyards and celebrants and musicians and everything until we know when we can have a funeral. And you can never have a funeral until you're medically cleared to go ahead with one.
Right.
And people don't realise that. So if you die on a Saturday or on a bank holiday weekend, and in the meantime an RIP notice goes up and everyone's ringing going, there's no funeral arrangements for Paddy there, like what's the story? And it's because people don't know because they haven't experienced it.
Sure.
Because of the medical system being the way it is, there is a process to follow, even with your own doctor. If you haven't been in a hospital setting, you know, if your death is unexpected, that can delay things even further because, you know, it may involve the coroner, postmortems, something. These things all take time now. So don't be in a hurry to get on the hamster wheel of
to make it all happen and push it all away. And
Yeah, and people come in and they're panicked and they're like, and we have this, and people have to go home, and people have to travel, and this, and I was going on holidays on Saturday, and I need it done before. Just slow down. Tell the stories. Stay with them. Before you ever call anyone, start, do the remembering piece. Because once you get into the machine of funeral arrangements and then everything else that follows, that's it, you're in the doing. And then the funeral's over and it's like literally clank, everything grinds to a halt, and then you don't know what to do with yourself, which means you start into the paperwork. And the bureaucracy of paperwork is a whole other level of insanity, with certificates and ringing banks and phone companies and all of the stuff that you're up against when you're doing that. And then again, it's just back into what's the rush? Why are we in such a hurry?
Just slow it all down.
Yeah.
How do we help people after the process? What's the things that you would recommend for people, with the grief process, whether that being connected to them in the spirit. That was a great help to me, by the way, that knowing that my dad hasn't gone and he's with me, and I've got signs like literally days after, like I was seeing feathers and paintbrushes right beside where I live in the house outside my door, and fox gone by. My dad loved foxes and he had a fox in his cup. So all of these things are really helpful to me, and the conversations I had with him, I do now speak to him more than I ever speak to him, and we were very close. What words of wisdom do you share with people after the process? What was beneficial to you, and what do you...
Just keep talking about them. That's the biggest thing. And that's the biggest thing you can say to people who don't know how to support someone who's grieving, is encourage them to talk about them. When Kevin died, Kevin has only ever appeared to me physically once. It was about 3 days after the funeral, after I got back home, because we kept his funeral down in Cork. We had the whole thing down there. And I came home about 3 days after. I woke up one morning and he was there in the bed beside me, his little orange jumper, big smile on his face. Clear as day. I couldn't have imagined him any clearer. And it was beautiful, because it was like he just came to tell me he was fine, and he'd gone to wherever he was supposed to go. And it was just like he needed to tell me he'd landed.
So it was no words, it was just
No,
visions,
just
it was
a smile on his
presence.
face, and that was it. Yeah, so he was happy.
What
looked
time did that happen? At what time in the morning? Was
About
it?
6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
Nearly. I
right.
just woke up and turned over, and there he was.
Did you get a fry? Did
No.
you? No, it was just
No.
like as real could
No,
be.
yeah, as real could be. Yeah, and it's that moment
Oh,
before
man, I
your
love
brain has engaged, and before...
So there's still a lot of melatonin going around. You were in that state of...
Before, as Tommy says, the adrenaline and cortisol spike, you need to get your foot onto the floor.
The hunter's hormones were fucking kicking
just
off.
before all of that, those first few seconds. It's like when you wake up and those first few seconds you forget that they're gone.
Sure,
or you forget that there's a shit show going on. Whatever it is in your life that's
the
not
program
going
gets
well.
you.
Yeah. And it was in those first few seconds. So there was no fear, there was no end, and there was just a lot of love. And it was like, well, thanks for coming back to tell me you're grand. Cool. Because some people do still feel like their person hasn't gone to where they're supposed to go. And that can happen. People can get stuck here because they weren't ready to go, but they went anyway. For me, I wanted to talk about him all the time, like so much. And I had to remind myself that I wasn't being a giant pain in the ass by annoying all my friends by talking about him. So it's really important, if you're supporting somebody who's grieving, to encourage them to talk about that person. Because we all think people are just sick listening to me drone on now about Kevin, or you go on about your dad all the time. You can get that feeling in your head that you're becoming an annoyance to people. That's not true. I think the most important thing to understand when you're grieving is that whatever you are feeling in that moment is fine. Whatever you need to do is fine. There's no, despite Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's model or anybody else's model of grief, like there was 5 and now there's 7 stages of grief. There were days where I had 7 stages of grief in an hour.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah.
So
Acceptance.
Yeah.
Acceptance is a big piece of where you're at inside of yourself.
So there isn't a timeline.
And there's no timeline.
No.
This is
So
it.
you're not grieving wrong. That's the biggest thing, is you can tie yourself. If you read the leaflet from the HSE or whoever, I got some sent in the post to me and I was like, they just made me feel like I was making an arse job of grieving. And that's ridiculous.
I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm making it worse, or, you know, should be over it by now.
Yeah. And you're not over anything. You're not supposed to over. You're just supposed to grow around it, I think, is what happens. You know, you don't get over it, because you will always love that person. You're destined to love that person forever. You love your dad forever, whether he's on this earth or not on this earth.
Whether he was in Australia or whether he's in the next realm, it makes no difference to me. I think about him, I love him. Even talking now, emotion floods right through me.
Yeah.
That was like that when he was here, and it's like that when he's allegedly not here. It doesn't change. Nothing has changed. My love has not changed.
No,
it's
you just
the same.
can't currently stand there and reach out and give him a hug physically. But you can still do that from your heart. You can still do that all the time. So whatever it is you're feeling is the right thing to feel. The other thing, I suppose, is find sport. I struggled with that because...
Find what?
Support.
Yeah.
Find, if you need people to go talk to them. But wait. I did a bit of bereavement counselling, very little, probably about 6 months in, because that's when the wheels fell off for me. I thought I was doing great. And then I remember going to the first conversation I had with the lovely Anne. She said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel like I've been going around with noise cancelling headphones on, and someone's just ripped them off my head in the middle of Croke Park on All Ireland final day. It's like the volume in the world just got spun up to I can't cope, and everything was too much. And then I went, I thought I was doing great. But the harsh reality was that I was just coming out of that numb phase that happens when your body is desperately trying to protect you. It was probably a year and a half before I met another widowed person. So that was kind of hard for me because I had no peer support. I had amazing friends. I had amazing family. Kevin's family are legends. But there was nobody who really understood. They could empathise in as much as they could. And thank goodness they couldn't understand, because you wouldn't want it for anyone. So eventually I found an organisation, and there's a staggering lack of organisations in this country for specific types of bereavement. So eventually I found a group of people, and that really helped. But not only did that help because I learned a lot from it, but I was able to then give back into it. And that's really important.
What organisation was that?
It's, believe it or not, there is no official organisation in Ireland for widowed people.
Okay.
But there is a Facebook group called Widowed in Ireland.
Right.
And it was set up by 2 widowed people about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And it's grown and grown and grown and grown. And it's just an amazing bunch of people who all understand. And whether you're 28 or 88, it's probably the age span within the group at the moment. There are people there who just can empathise with what you're going through. We need better bereavement support in Ireland.
And what would that look like for you when you say better bereavement? I think a lot of the bereavement support comes from the psychology and psychotherapy world, and I think it's limited.
Yeah.
I think it's limited to the mind. It's limited that it doesn't allow the conversation around the spirit world, what's next, more than what we know stuff, you know, the power of love in helping people through the grief process.
And I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning about community. You know, in the old days, your tribe was your tribe, and they got you through, or they helped you, because everyone came together to do it. So we don't live necessarily in tribes anymore. So now we've disjointed everything out to, there's a support group for this, or there's a resource for that. you need to find
Even
your
that's
tribe.
medicalized.
Exactly.
Even that's like
Even
part of
that
the
is,
medical,
yeah.
like the psychotherapy, the psychology, psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
That's all from the medical model of trying to push people through the process.
Yeah. And the other hardest part of grieving is rediscovering your identity. And that's the bit that people struggle with a lot.
A huge piece, because I see that with me own ma.
Yeah. When your person dies or when somebody dies, you change immediately. And whether that's your father, your mother, your sibling,
She's no
your
longer
child.
a wife, she's a widow.
Exactly.
It's a new identity.
It's a new
then.
hat to wear. But then you grieve, and not even as a widow, as a thing, you grieve the stuff you don't get to do. So you grieve, whatever you used to do with your dad, going to the pub for a pint, going for walks, going to football matches, whatever it was.
Conversations about life.
Holidays, whatever it was. You grieve your future that you don't get. And you have to rediscover who you are as a human being.
And it's to allow that process to happen organically. I said to me, ma, we were talking the other day, and she's like, it's 2 years now. His anniversary was last month. It's 2 years. And I says, yeah. And I says, how are you doing? She says, I'm doing good today. And I says, good. I says, how did you get here? Like, how did you get to this point? Because they were 53 years together, or whatever like that. And she says, you. And I says, what do you mean by me? I know you're not talking about the map body or the map person. And she goes, all that we've done together, the love, the peace, the joy. Like, I had to leave my identity at the door. I'm a son.
Yeah.
I'm disqualified, I'm that qualified. What turned up? Love. Peace, acceptance, allowance.
Yeah.
She would be going through stuff, and I'd like, do you want me to help you? Do you want me to help you understand what's going on for you there?
Or
rather than
to
sit here. What do you actually need? And there was days that we just didn't talk about certain things, and there's other days I'll explain the mechanics of what she's going through, so she has an intellectual understanding, and then do what you like with that. And it wasn't to try fix her or push her through it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most important things that we can understand is that it's actually okay to be okay.
Oh, because people can feel guilty about that.
Oh yeah, the first time you find yourself like laughing and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm grieving. Like I'm supposed to be, like we're all supposed to be up on a moor in a black veil forever because we're bereaved. Like.
Yeah, and my dad and I'm sure Kevin, they would love nothing better than to you be happy.
100%.
Go and have the best. So we're going away on a holiday, me and my man, next month. We've never been on a holiday before.
Yeah.
Like my dad's passing has led us to this point. My dad would be buzzing for me man to go away.
Like I don't live somebody said to me like, oh, you have to live your life because Kevin didn't get his. And that is bullshit. If you will pardon my French. I live my life because I have a life to live. And only I am responsible for living that life. He had his journey. It got to where it got to. I don't know how long of my journey I have, so I'm cracking on with it while I have the chance to.
Cracking on. Yeah.
And it's okay to be good about that.
And it's okay to be happy. It's okay to smile. 100%. It's okay even to cry. It's okay to have a fucking absolute mare inside yourself.
There's usually at least one point in a set of a funeral arrangement where I have the giggles with family, and then they're like, they're nearly going, sorry. I'm like, why?
Yeah, no.
I don't want to say I put the fun in funeral because that's highly inappropriate when I'm in the middle of arrangements. But there has to be. A person is a complete person. And and you can see that, I mean, the biggest job of a death doula, a celebrant, a funeral director, as someone supporting a grieving person, whatever it is just to be that space container for them. But it's also to know when to push and when to back off and when to just divert over here till we talk about something lighter for a minute and when to go back in. That's the magic. So we'll be in arrangements and I can tell, like it's a lot. You went to the funeral directors. It's a lot of questions. It's a lot of decisions. A lot of stuff. If you're meeting a doula client, it's a lot of, you're trying to get, what do you want? What do you need? It's a lot of stuff. So you got to kind of edge in. Because you don't know where they are. You get a bit done and then you can see it in them. You're like, okay, this is getting, we're approaching overwhelm now. So you just back off and you just go, so how did you meet?
Yeah.
How long were you married? And it's not about the death part. It's not about where they sick for long. It's about their life. The saddest part of what I do especially as a celebrant or a funeral director, is I usually don't get to meet all these amazing people that I hear so many stories about. Because their families bring them to life and you get to know them and you're like, well, they sound like a kind of person I would love to have gone for a pint with. So it's even bringing those conversations into the work that we do.
I think you made a great point there, is that the fun and the humour in these situations is really important, because we know about biochemistry, fun, laughter, love. It changed our biochemistry, because that's the importance of love in this, because it switches our internal world, oxytocin, serotonin, laughing, and it also releases cortisol. Crying releases cortisol. My ma didn't cry at the funeral. She thought that people seeing her crying was a weakness. She thought crying was a weakness. Now she cries easily, because she was trained in an environment. She was a kid that crying is a weakness. Don't cry, even at our husband's funeral. But that is the very thing that will release serotonin and make you feel a little bit better. Yeah. So having fun, laughing, even if it's inappropriate, even if it's dark humor.
We're good at that.
We're good at that, but it's beneficial to the system. It takes a little bit of a heaviness off the load.
If you have a good cry or a good laugh, you always feel lighter.
It's physical.
Afterwards.
They're both physical.
Literally, you feel lighter afterwards.
Yeah.
So get it out. And like, there's no right or wrong way to do this, I suppose.
I think that's a great point. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Do your best. It's not about being right. It's try do the right thing.
And then be okay with that. Be okay with whatever it was that you did. Because if you did it from love and from the heart, and you did your best with what you're equipped and how you're equipped to deal with it, well, then it's good enough.
And then that is a great point to make. Do it from love. Do it from a place of selflessness, as best you can. When you become aware, are you making this about you? Are you making this about your own pain or your own hurt? Can you try your best to be selfless in this process? Yeah, it's a really important point.
Magic.
Before we wrap up, what is the one thing you would love people to know about, the doula work, the leaving their physical body? What would you like to leave them with?
Oh, that's a tough question, man.
Yeah, wow. Bum.
Too many things. I think it's just, if you know what it is you want, just fucking get it out there. And live your goddamn life while you can. Yeah.
I would also say to people to explore the near-death experiences, explore the next thing that could possibly happen when people live. Because I wouldn't have been too really into the spiritual world, the next life, afterlife and all that kind of years ago. Now, as I say, I have more conversations with my dad. He's my go-to guy when I want to. Even on the day after he's passing, my man's family came into the house and there was stuff going on. And I went in, had a chat, and my dad was like, he's your ma, such and such, he's your ma, da-da-da. Just have a little sleep there. He'll be gone when you wake up. And I went and had a sleep and I woke up and they were gone.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, my dad's actually talking to me. And then I'm like, am I talking to you or talking to myself? And he says, it's the same thing. I and my father are one.
Yeah.
He says, I'm your higher consciousness. This is the oneness of it all. Yeah. He says, just chill out there.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, as you've said, you know what to do.
You know what to do.
It's in there. Stop thinking and intellectualizing it, as you said. You know what to do.
Like what you did as a child. You knew Frank popped out of his body or whoever popped out of their body. And then the fear of people poured into you, we know.
Yeah.
So it's about coming back to that. Get out of the head, because when you're in the head, you're dead. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Get into the heart.
Yeah.
Love knows the way.
And just slow everything down. Just give yourself
everything down.
Permission to take a breath. Because once you're on that roller coaster, there's no getting off it. So, why are we in such a hurry? It's all right to give yourself permission to just...
Because that can be an act of loving yourself. That can be an act of being kind to yourself. Like, you can really move through this death process, the dying process, the grief process with love. It's a lovely, soothing balm. It's not going to make it all go away, but it just makes life a little bit easier going through the funnel.
For sure.
What?
Yeah, for sure it's going to help.
Yeah. It's not a spiritual bypass. And we're not trying to socks and sandals the shit out of this. Just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Lisa, Liza, thanks so much. That was an incredible conversation.
Great chat as always.
I love it. It's a difficult thing to be talking about, but if you go with it from a place of love, it just makes it a little bit easier.
100%.
Thanks. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Please share this with family and friends. Nobody's immune to suffering. Nobody's immune to death and the grief process. So if you know somebody that's going through this process, please share with them. Share with family and friends. I really appreciate you all tuning in and sharing my work. As always, I'm going to thank my main sponsor for the podcast, Noel Riley from Rooney Media Graphics. You need any work done, graphic design or anything done in that realms or media, get on to those guys. To the girls in Shannon's Hope Line, Lisa and Sandra, doing amazing work in the Liberties, and then to the Liberties Community Project for allowing me to use that building as an office and also record the podcast. Thanks so much. That's it. That is it. So stay tuned and we'll see you soon. A conversation with love. What an amazing conversation about love. Adios, amigos.
I will run, I will climb, I will soar. I'm undefeated. Oh, jumping out of my skin, pull the cord. Yeah, I believe it. Oh, the past is everything we were. Don't make us who we are. So I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is stars. It's not until you fall that you fly. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will glow in the dark, turning dust to gold.